If you're interested in following along, you can go out here. You all should have access to the P drive right now. And as it is mentioned up there, if you go to the P drive, to the CIS folder, to the 152, 142, C# folder, Spring 2015, there'll be a lot of folders in there, and one of the folders that's in there is called Syllabus-Course Evaluation. All right, I'm just kind of tired of printing out syllabi, and most of them end up sitting on people's desks when they leave. If you say, well, I don't think I should have to waste my paper on that, then talk to me after class and I'll print one out for you. Okay? All right. So, I already gave you my information. All of the offices for everyone who works in the business division, as I do, are almost directly upstairs in room 2503. My schedule changed towards the end of last semester, so these are my office hours for the semester. All right, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8:30 till 10, Mondays and Wednesdays from 7:30 till 8. I've got this class and I've got the class after it, so if you're in both this class and the Java class, you have me for both. After that, I'm done for the day. All right, and I will be leaving at that time too. All right. So, the class, to make sure you're in the right place, is Intro to .NET Programming. And if that would ever happen, I didn't see anybody in here, but I had that happen once, that somebody came in here and sat through an hour of my class, and they came up during the break and said, I'm in the wrong class. Is it okay if I leave? You don't have to do that. If you're in the wrong class, it's the same kind of thing. If you got to go to the bathroom, don't come up and ask me. It's okay. Just go. All right. All right. The meeting day and time is 8 till 9:50 on Monday and Wednesdays. In here, all of my classes are in here. Most of the classes for the IT web software developer program are in here. All right. Jim Schmidt will be teaching in the afternoon, so if you're in the jQuery class and or the relational database development class, they'll also be in here with him. All right. This is basically taken right out of Banner, so I'm not going to read it to you. I don't like to read to you anyway. It's a beginning class in the C# programming language. All right. My hope is that everyone in this room has either taken the 152, 119 Learning to Program with JavaScript class, or is at least comfortable navigating their way around. All right, as we get started in here, again, I'm here if you have questions, so are the lab assistants. All right, and I'm not going to speak for either of them other than to say that I think they're happiest when they're answering questions. All right, so if you do have questions, and a lot of times people feel funny about asking an instructor questions, then just ask them. All right, and feel free to lean on each other too. All right, so if Mike is having a problem and Scott can look at it, you know, especially if the rest of the three of us are busy, that's great. I don't give tests, so that shouldn't be any kind of an issue. You know, well, what about tests? And I do expect you to do your own work. All right. All right. There's the course goal. Again, you'll achieve an intermediate level of understanding in the C# programming language. All right. The textbook is right here. Okay, if you don't have it already, there should still be copies, I believe, in the bookstore. If there are not, they're not. I said on the website last night they were out. Okay. Well, I know that last time I looked, there were some in there. All right, but I will go up and talk to the people at the bookstore. How many people don't have a book yet? All right, well, a few. All right, if it's easier for you today, you may want to sit next to somebody who has a book. All right, I'm not going to be going through anything exactly out of the book. My hope is by the end of the class period, we're going to grab one of the programs from Chapter 2, and we're going to build it as a class. All right, that's the goal. So if you think, wow, I thought you were just going to give us, take our attendance, and then you were going to go over your syllabus and we're going to leave. No. Okay, so we're just going to start right away. I'm not going over Chapter 1 in your book because Chapter 1 is an introduction to computers. They talk about what software is. They talk about what hardware is, etc. You can read that on your own if you have an interest in it. All right. I've got in here assignments, approximately 8. I'm not sure exactly how many there will be, and don't worry about it right now. All right. But I will tell you that at a minimum that we have been told, we had a big talk on this last week at, because I had to come in last week for our faculty in service, and that is the fact that when typically when instructors tape their classes, a lot of times what happens is people just have a tendency not to come. Well, don't worry, I'll watch it at home. And although I actually can check in some ways, if I know what your IP address is, I can check to see if you've looked at the stuff at home. I don't do that. All right. But the hope is that you're going to be here so you can get dinged if you're not here. All right. The core abilities, I'm not going to click this, but this is a hyperlink to part of Blackhawk's site. And if you go out there, what they're saying here is the stuff that you see right here. If you're going for any degree at Blackhawk Technical College or any diploma, that during your tenure here, that's some of the stuff that you should learn. That's generic type of stuff. The stuff that we're most concerned with here, really when you think about it, are use appropriate technology and solve problems efficiently, more than anything else. All right. The competencies, again, I'm not going to sit and read these to you, but you can take a look at them right there. They all have to do with, again, with your getting an understanding of the C# programming language. Just so you know, too, there are a lot of languages that sound similar. There's C, there's C++, there's C#, there's Objective-C, and now there's another language from Apple that's called Swift. All right, they're all kind of offshoots of one another. Years ago, all right, when AT&T came up with the Unix operating system, and they're the ones who did, they wanted to have a programming language literally that the operating system would be written in. Well, before there was C, there was a language that was called BCPL, and I don't even know what it stands for, nor do I care. But after that, there was a language called B. And some of these people who created C, they looked at the B language and they tried to upgrade it. And what comes after B is C, and that's how the whole thing happened. All right. This language that we're going to learn right now, we're going to start learning today, is what's known as an object-oriented programming language. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it, because we're going to be going over that in the next several weeks. The reason I'm telling you that, though, is the C language, and C# is based off of C. The C language is not object-oriented. So you can see the different stuff that's in here, and much of the stuff that you'll see in here, all right, does kind of dovetail into talking about different chapters that we go over in the book. All right. All of the material for this course, I already showed you where that is. So if you go out there, you know, the same path that I showed you before, all of the material is under there. It's also going to be underneath Blackboard, and most of it is there now. We're going to go over the Blackboard stuff in just a minute. The school makes us put this thing in here. Literally it does, and they just changed it. All right, so if you have any special kind of needs, learning needs that you want to let me know of, that's fine, then let me know. Usually that becomes an issue only when we're taking tests, and since we're not, I don't think that that'll be an issue in here. All right. But I've had blind students in my class. I've had legally blind students in my class. I've had deaf students in my class. I've had, you know, whatever you want to call it, ADD, whatever. I've had a lot of those, you know, different combinations of people in my classes before. It's always seemed to have worked out okay. All right. As it says in here, I appreciate it if you have a problem, if you try to email me. It's much easier if you have a problem and you try to email me as opposed to calling upstairs. I think the people upstairs are going to be amazed at how little I'm going to be up there this semester. All right, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to be in here, and I'm the only one in here from 6 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon. Now, that said, I've got a 10 to 12 class on Tuesday and Thursday, and a 1 to 3 and a 3 to 5. So there are no classes in here from 8 till 10. This is your room. It's not my lab. When people say, let's meet in Jeff's lab, it's not Jeff's lab. So if you ever want to come in here between 8 and 10, there'll be no one in here other than probably me, but the room is yours if you want to use it. My class from 10 to 12 has got about 10 in it, all right, and they tend to kind of either are here or back there. So if you want to come in during that time, that's fine too. And the afternoon classes both have about 10 in them. So you're always welcome in here. All I ask is that when I'm lecturing that you don't print. All right, because since I am taping, sometimes when you hear that, kind of interferes. You know, I get the background noise, which isn't all that great. The way that I set up homework too, just so you know, you're not getting homework today, but let's just pretend for a second that you were. If you were getting homework today, when I assign something, it's due 2 weeks from the day that it's assigned, and you get a minimum of a week lab time. So if I was going to assign something today, then you would have Wednesday and next Monday for lab, and it would be due 2 weeks from today. That make sense to everyone? Any questions on anything that's in the syllabus? If you were around here last semester, you may have been lucky enough to be here when we had the fire drills. They may happen again this semester. They'll probably wait till a day like last week when it was unbelievably cold, and they'll have it then. All right. But if we do, people always ask, should I take my machine? I would say if you have your own machine, I would suggest, yeah, you unplug it and take your machine with you. Whether you do or do not, that's your call. All right. And I just am supposed to shut the door. I'm not supposed to lock it anymore. So the door is shut. So if somebody comes in after you and you leave your machine here and somebody takes it, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to tell you. But if that does happen when we get off, we come out of here, we literally are supposed to go to the right and go all the way down to the end of where the smoker area is. We're supposed to meet down there. Okay? All right. My guess is probably everyone in here has gone into Banner before, but just on the off chance that you have not the Banner, I'm sorry, into Blackboard. But I'm just going to go in here, just into blackhawk.edu. And if you go there, this has changed a little bit. They haven't changed the look and feel of this yet, but that's coming. But the big thing in here is now under online services is the MyBTC login. If you haven't done that before, you should go in and log in that way. That is your kind of window, all right, to most things BTC. So if I log in here, I have not customized mine at all, so this is how mine looks. Yours might look like this. It might look a little bit different. No biggie one way or the other. But the point is, if I go out here to Blackboard, this is how you're going to get into Blackboard. And any class that you're in where the instructor has put stuff out there for Blackboard, you're going to see over here. All right. So if I, for example, if I go into Intro to .NET Programming, I set up my shelves over here so they're all pretty much the same. So you'll notice over here, there's the syllabus in both Word and PDF format. There's the course evaluation. I didn't go through that, but just so you know, that's what it looks like, and you'll be doing that in week 9, and you'll be doing it again in week 17. All right. And then under here, there's where the videos will go. And notice it says to be provided because we don't have any yet that have actually been done. I try to turn those around within 24 hours. A lot of times you might be surprised. You'll always get a break in here at 5.2 because the videos have a tendency to break down if I go much more than an hour. So I like to go about 50 or 55 minutes, stop this, give you a break, and then start up again. I cannot, the way that this machine is configured, I cannot be producing one video when I'm recording another one. But as soon as class is over, if there's time, I'll start to produce it right away. And my stuff is available. It's literally all out there on YouTube, but I've got links to it right in here. So if you click, where this will be, for instance, this might say, intro lecture, and it'll have today's date on it. If you click there, it'll take you out to where that is on YouTube. All right, you can also get to it directly from YouTube also, but I'm not going to go into that. All right, book source. This is all the code that's in the book, just so you know. Every single line of code, as far as I know, that's in that book is in here. All right, it's in a zip file. All the PowerPoints for the book are also in here in a zip file. I don't go over PowerPoints. All right, so if you say, geez, my other teacher reads me PowerPoints, well, then go talk to your other teacher. All right, because I'm just not going to do that. All right, but they're in there, and Gaddis does write pretty good PowerPoints. All right, so they're all in there. The stuff that we do in class, if we create something in class, I'll put it in there where it says in class. All right. The homework is going to be in the link here called homework, Any announcements? So the only announcement that's in here right now is the welcome to the class. But if I know that I'm going to be gone for a day, I'll typically email all of you, and I'll put something like that out there also. All right. Good news or bad news, depending on your point of view. I've been here after the end of this year. I think it's 22 and a half years. I've taken 4 sick days. So I'm not sick often. All right. But one thing the school keeps doing is taking away whatever little power instructors have. And one of the things that we get are 2 personal days per year. And I did not take any last semester. I may take them this semester, but I'll try to give you enough advance that if I'm not going to be around, I'll let you know. Also, the last thing I'll mention that's on here is there is a discussion board here, and that's what it is. It's your discussion board. All right, and all I did was just started it, but not much, I guess. But it literally is your discussion board, so it's a time you guys can bounce stuff back and forth. I'm privy to this. I will look at it, but not very often. Last semester, I think there was, in all 7 of my classes last semester, 1 bulletin or 1 discussion board was used. 6 were not. All right, some instructors make you do that. And they'll put really thought-provoking questions out there, and they'll have you comment on them, etc. I don't do that. All right. Any questions on that? Please, if you haven't done so by the end of the day today, try to get in and make sure that once you're in here, that if you're in this class, that you've got a link here to the Intro to .NET Programming class, and if you're in the Java class, that you've got a link to that. If you don't, let me know. The real good news is if we ever have a problem with Blackboard, Cynthia Delcourt, our Blackboard administrator, is literally in the next room. So I can go over there and talk to her. All right? It tends to work pretty well. All right. Any questions on anything we've gone over thus far? Yes. 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 And just so you know, too, with the videos, it'll be my voice and the computer. There are no cameras in this room. They've talked about doing that for years. They've talked about putting mics in here. I don't really like that because especially the second-year people, I have a tendency that I'll be lecturing and they're coding something and then you hear some F-bombs and some other stuff, and I don't really want that in here because then I have to try to dig through inside of Camtasia, which I use to record, and get those out of there. All right. Kind of on a similar note, you may not find this interesting. I do. I've got some guy who's been trying to contact me on my phone for 2 weeks. He won't tell me who he is. And today I got an email from him saying, "Who the F is this?" Which is nice when you get somebody to send something like that to your phone. So I wrote back, I can ask the same question. And they didn't say anything. I think I'm really perturbing him, and I'm kind of enjoying it. All right. Again, your other stuff will be here too, so you can get to your webmail and whatever from here. All right. Okay. So that said, am I right in assuming that everybody has logged in? Is there anybody who couldn't log in? As far as I know, everybody in this room, including a couple people who just added recently, what I did was I went and checked right before class today, and there were 21 in here. All 21 of you should have access to what's called our virtual desktop. All right, we're going to look at that right now. It's changed a little bit from last semester. So the stuff I showed you, they did an upgrade in the software. They did an upgrade in the hardware. All right. But my hope is that every one of you on your desktop has got an icon that looks like this. It says VMware Horizon Client. Now, if you don't have that, you're going to have to let me know. All right, when I say you don't have to raise your hand right now, but you let me know during the break. I will talk to our virtual desktop engineer. All right, I've actually invited him to come into class, and when he gets time, he's going to. His name is Terry Prindle. His email is tprindle@blackhawk.edu. He's a terrific guy, bless you, nice person, all right, and he really knows his stuff, and he's done a lot of work on this lab and the image that we have in here during the break. All right. So I didn't hear anything, so I'm hoping that everybody has this. So if you take your mouse, please, and double-click on where it says VMware Horizon Client, it should come up then and look like this. All right, in the past, the icon looked different, so if you took a class with me in the past, when we went through this, it looked different. All right. Terry actually looked through 3 different ways of doing this over the break. John, thankfully, was around and did some work with him, and I did a little bit of work with him also, and this is the one that Terry decided worked the best, so this is the one that we're going to be using. All right, so with that up there, and if it's yours says desktops.blackhawk.edu, then double-click on that also, and ideally, at least, it should look like this. And you will log in the same way that you log in when you come in the morning. And you probably won't have one that says external desktops. Don't worry about that. I always have that, but I don't know what it is, and I've never used it. But ideally, you and everyone else in here will have one that says Students Developmental or Development Desktop. And if you double-click on that one, it'll get you into what's called the virtual desktop. Now, in the past, this may have changed, so you can listen to this, but if you're going to write it down, I wouldn't. All right, because I've got to talk to Terry about this. But in the past, what would happen is if you went out to blackhawk.edu and you clicked here where it says Online Services and literally click on that, and you went down to here, didn't even hear anymore. All right. Well, I don't see it here anymore, but what used to be here was you are able to, I think, load this virtual desktop on your own machines. And if you do that, you'll be able to get to your virtual desktop from home. So from your house or home, you'll be able to, using your own computer, you'll be able to get to the P drive from here, the H drive from here, etc. All right. This has changed a little bit from what we've seen before, but I'll talk to Terry and I'll try to let you know by next class exactly what's going on. I don't know. I don't know. You could, I would say try it. Yeah, if you have an old one at home that you've tried before and it doesn't work, all right, you know, if you try it once or twice and it doesn't work, then probably you'll need the new one. All right. And I have not tried mine, so, all right, just so you know that. Now, one thing to realize, this should look a lot like your desktop before, but it's not. So the first thing to realize is this is a desktop. All right. So anything that you put on here, if for some reason your virtual desktop, and it doesn't happen often, I'd say on average it happens to one student out of the 50 or 60 who have this every semester, that somehow your virtual desktop gets damaged. And literally Terry has to rebuild it. If he has to rebuild it, everything that's on there goes away. Does that make sense? Because it's a desktop. I've had this happen before. I had this happen a couple years ago where I had a student who had everything for all 4 of the classes he had with me on his virtual desktop. And then the system crashed one day and he lost everything. And I'm like, well, didn't you back it up to a flash drive or to the H drive? No. Well, then he was hosed. All right. So you may want to back everything up. You can from the virtual desktop. You can get both to your H drive and to your P drive from here. All right, the H drive is your personal drive, and the P drive is the one that I use for classes. All right. Also, you can tell in here, if you take your mouse and put it all the way up at the top, you can see you get this. If I click the minus sign that's up here, now I'm out of the virtual desktop and back into my, quote, real desktop, unquote. All right. And if I do click the X right here, that's one way that I can get out. All right. The other way that I can get out is I can click the start button and I can go to log off. Okay. Either one of those ways. Now, is there anyone who just tried to get into the virtual desktop that was unsuccessful? Okay. 2 people. All right. Then what I'm going to say is I'm going to go on because I know Terry's not here yet. All right. But when I give you the break at 8:30, or at 9 o'clock, I should say, about 5 to 9 or so, we'll check yours real quick, all right, and the 2 people, and then I'll go up and I'll talk to him during the break. We'll try to see if we can get this to work, all right? All right, for the rest of you, you probably don't have nearly the amount of junk that I have on here, which is fine. All right, but if you'd click Start and you'd click All Programs, then yours should look at least similar to what mine looks like in here. And if you go down and literally you've got this drop down here, if you arrow down near the bottom, you should see Visual Studio 2013. All right, so if you single click on that, then what you'll see is you get this, it opens up the folder. The one that we care about is the one that kind of looks like a bow tie or whatever you want to call it. It says Visual Studio 2013. Now what I'm going to suggest you do, is to right mouse click on that and drag it out here onto the desktop and choose Create Shortcuts here. If you don't want to do that, then don't do it. All right, but if you don't, or if you don't pin it to your taskbar down at the bottom of the screen here, then what's going to happen is you're going to have to go into it every time this way. I've already got it here. You can see there it is, and I've got it down here also. All right. Any problems with that? All right. Then to start it up, just double click where it says Visual Studio 2013. And that starts up Visual Studio. Now when you do this, if yours doesn't come up and look exactly like mine, don't worry about it. It eventually will. All right? One thing to realize too is, and this is a great testament to people like Terry in our IT department, is if you notice, we're not only using 2013, which is the latest and greatest, but it's the ultimate 2013. So it's the best Visual Studio there is. What we're getting into right now is something that's called Microsoft Visual Studio. Visual Studio is what's known as an IDE. It's an integrated development environment. Okay? And I don't know if you're up to here or if you got someplace else where you might have to sign in or whatever. I don't know. But this start page, what's kind of nice about it is if you notice, I can start a new project from here. I can open an existing project from here. Or if I've got some recent projects, I can open those up also. All right? But if you don't want to go through it that way, and I'm going to just assume you don't have any new projects or anything, you can just close that right away too. All right? And that's how this will end up looking when you get started. If it doesn't show a toolbox here, don't worry about it. I'll show you how to get it in just a minute. If it doesn't show a Solution Explorer over here, don't worry about it. I'll show you how to get that in a couple minutes. All right? Now again, when we go through this, there might be things that you have to do for some setup for the first time. I've never understood this because some of you may have to go through some of this stuff and some of you may not have to go through some of this stuff. I don't know why that is, but it is. All right? Just so you're aware of it, virtually 100% of the time this semester, we're going to go and do File, New, Project. All right? So you're virtually going to do that all of the time. Okay? And you'll notice if you don't like doing it that way, that right over here, there's the new project icon. So you can also do it from there. Or as they show you with the keyboard shortcut, you can do Control plus Shift plus N. To me, that's the hardest one, but whatever way is the easiest way for you to do it. All right? But what I want us to do is do a File, New, Project. Was everybody able to do that? Special people who sit up front here. What you see when you look up here, yours may not look like this. And it may look like this. Whether it does or doesn't, don't worry about it. All right? What may end up happening with some, most, or all of you is the system may come up and ask you what language you want to use. Okay? If it does do that, there'll be a little box with some choices in there. You'll take your mouse and you'll double click where it says C#. If you accidentally do a different one, it doesn't matter. But if you do C#, what that's going to do is it's automatically going to open up this C# folder. If you accidentally instead did Visual Basic, it's going to open up that folder. And that'll be your default. All right. But everything that we do in here is going to be under C#. All right. And you'll notice in here it says, at least on mine, it says Windows. And over here it says Windows Form Application. That's virtually what we're going to be using in here 100% of the time. But the most important thing I want you to look at right now is right here. Because you might have some god-awful place where this is where it's going to save your stuff by default. And yours might be D:users, and it might be 5 or 6 levels deep. You don't want that. All right? So you'll notice where mine is. Mine is set to the D:\_users\jscott\desktop. Well, I'm going to assume yours isn't set to anything like that. So if we click the Browse button here, and if we go over to Desktop, all right, so under Browse, I go over to Desktop, all right, I can get there that way also. I do want you to realize that if you go over to the Desktop on here, our desktop, just so you're aware of this, is not your C drive like it is on the other machines. It's the D drive. All right? I just want people to realize that. Don't save things out to the C drive on here. Save them out to the D drive. All right? So if I say select folder, you'll notice it's right back where it was before. Now, I can say that, and there will be at least one time in here that somebody will save this to some place you didn't mean to save it to. If that happens, let me know, let Ben know, let John know, all right? If Mike Wegman, who's the other lab assistant who's not here this morning, otherwise let him know if you have a problem with it. There is a way, I don't remember what it is right now, but we can come in here through Tools, and I think it's Options, but there's something in here in one of these things that's underneath here where we can set it where you're supposed to be able to set it and forget it. But I've had people go in there and set it, and then somehow the system resets it. Don't know why that would happen. Don't know how that would happen. But it has happened. All right? Okay. So if you've done all that, and you're able to go in there and do a file, new, project, and yours says desktop right here, just so you see the rest of the stuff that's in here. All right? Some of the stuff that's in here we'll use next semester, and some of it I'm just never even going to talk to you about. Every single project that we do in here will be a GUI project. If you don't know what GUI is, graphical user interface. We'll be creating controls from day one in here. You say, I don't know how to do that. It's literally a matter of dragging and dropping that you'll see in a couple minutes. One thing that you can do in here that I'm not going to is we could use console application. If we chose that, I could teach you how the language without doing any GUI stuff. You could write it from a command line. All right, Denny Wright, who also teaches this class, has people learn it from the command line. Maybe that's a better way. I don't know. All right. But we want it to say Windows Form Application. You notice by default it gives you the glorious name Windows Forms Application 1, which is not a good name. All right. We're going to change that in just a second, but before we do, I just want to get out of this for a second because I wanted to show you something. Now, I do have, on my machine, and no, I'm not allowed to give you this, so if you say, well, gee, can you give that to us? Not legally, so no. I've got a thing that's called CoreSmart. All right, from the publisher that I'm working with. You don't have the ability to do what I'm about to show you. All right. They always say they're going to make this available for students, but every time I try to have them get into it, it doesn't work the way that they claim it does. But when I sign in here, I've got the ability that I probably have access now to somewhere around 200 online books. All right. And one of the books that I have access to is the book for this class. All right. And there's a reason, there's a method for my madness. You know, if you give me a second, I want to turn up the page. You must be a really good class because I'm already going up to page 116. All right. What we're going to do in just a minute is we're going to write this program that you see right here. So I just want to show it to you before we even get started. All right? What's going to happen is you're going to, and again, if you say, I don't know how to do any of that stuff, that's what the rest of the class is about. Okay? And if we don't get it done today, we don't get it done today. It's no big thing one way or the other. All right? But what's going to happen is when we first bring the program up, you won't see a head and you won't see a tail. In other words, this will be blank, all this area in here, and that'll be blank, and you'll just have these three buttons. When you click the button that says Show Heads, that's what's going to happen. When you click the button that says Show Tails, that's what's going to happen. And when you click the Exit button, you'll be prompted to see whether or not you want to quit the program. Does all that make sense? Questions? All right. You can read the stuff that's in here, but I just told it to you. Now, a couple things, just so you're aware of this, just so you see it. And I didn't do a good job of this last semester. I'm going to try to be better with your class this semester. So again, source code. We're in chapter 2, and you look in here, wait, that's not in here. No, because this is all the code that's actually in your book. What I'm showing you on page 116 is one of the assignments from the end of the chapter. Those aren't shown in here. All right, do I have access to those? Yes. But I can honestly tell you that if you go back and you look at my, if I go over to my virtual desktop, that during the break, there's the Java, and I wrote all those myself, and somewhere in here, there's the other ones, and I've written those. So you'll notice, here's the coin flip, and I'll show you what it'll look like when we get all done. Not real pretty or anything, but it's functional. All right, show heads, show tails, exit, and it'll ask, are you sure you want to exit? All right, that's what we're going to do. All right, does all that make sense? Okay. All right, so I'm literally going to tell you what to type in, how to type it in, etc. The plan that I have, we're going to do this after the break because I'd like the two people who weren't able to get in, I'd like to get theirs fixed and have them up and running before we start, ideally at least. All right. But the way that I plan on doing this is for virtually every chapter that we go through in here, we're going to do a program as a class. All right. And yeah, you'll be required to turn those in. All right. And that'll take at least a class period for most of the programs. All right. Then at the end of the chapter, and this is the only program we're going to do for chapter 2. All right. Then at the end of the chapter, after we go over the program as a class, then I will lecture on the chapter. And the way that I will lecture on the chapter is literally, I will bring up CoreSmart like you saw in here, and I'll do something like, say we're on page 87. So I'll have access to this, and I'll show this. This is what's going to be being taped. Again, I'm not going to go over any of the PowerPoints. All right, you've got those available to you on both the P drive and on Blackboard. You've got all of the author's code from the book available to you on the P drive and on Blackboard. All right. But one of the things I have to do a better job of this semester is giving you some guidelines as far as what I'm looking for. And one of those guidelines will be, I want you to put some comments in there. I want you to start using some documentation on your programs. A lot of programmers will tell you documentation is a 4-letter word. They don't like to do it. All right, but ideally, these are the programs that if you go in for a job interview, you're going to be taking them with you. And if you've done some documentation, then at least your potential employer can see that you document. What you don't want them to remember about you, oh, Ben, yeah, he's the guy who came in here and didn't have a line of comments on his program. I've had students who've literally done this before, where they've written their programs, they haven't put any documentation in, then they've gone in for a job interview, then they go back and write the documentation afterward. And guess what? It sounds real half-assed. The time to write your documentation is when you are creating the program, not afterwards. Now, as we go through this stuff, I'm going to give you some tips. And that's what they are. So there will be times when I will say, you should do this, you should do this, and you may not agree with me. You're going to say, well, I don't think he's right. I'm going to just do it whatever way I want. You can do that. But you might run into a problem later if you do that. That's what I'm telling you. So what I'm trying to do in here is trying to show you the most straightforward way of doing this. All right? And I'm not saying that you walk out of here and you're the best programmer in the world and you're the best C# programmer in the world. All right? Some of you may have heard me say this already. I used to start classes by drawing a little thing on the board which was supposed to represent an iceberg. And then I would put a line right near the top of it, and I would say, I'm just teaching you the tip of the iceberg. And one of my students, Wes, who graduated from here probably 10 or 12 years ago, he now programs green screens in ASP.NET. He works for one of the weather companies in Madison. All right, he told me, he said, Jeff, he said, I really gave you credit for when you told us in class that you only teach the tip of the iceberg. He said, but just so you know, you're more teaching us a snowflake that's on the tip of the iceberg. In other words, there's so much to learn. There's no way in heck that I can show you everything that's even in this book. Not in 17 weeks. If all I did was lecture, yeah. But I'm going to go over and hit the points that I think are the high points. When a student says to me, I got an A in your class, and I never even opened the darn book, that's not making me proud. All right? It should be that you looked at the book. So it's 8:47. Let's take a break. We'll come back at 9 o'clock. And again, hopefully the two people who are having problems, we can get them fixed by that time.